Okay. So, in this module, so I hope you had a nice reflection week. So just let's go and talk about this module again. So the end game for this module is that we are gonna create a content management system, which is what companies use when they need a web page. In the past, when companies needed a web page, they would have programmed it from scratch. But actually, the requirements we have are usually the same, independent of what kind of organization we have. Now, some organizations obviously will have very different requirements. Let's say, if you are the BBC, you probably need some sort of bespoke web page. Yeah, but if you are the company down the road selling paint, and you are the company over there, running a pub, or if you're another company, maybe offer, a haircut shop or whatever it might be, you probably want a similar kind of web page. Now, all the examples I mentioned, they're small organizations, but this kind of system we'll be looking at is also used by large organizations. We'll have some examples, but when we start talking about the different systems that are out there, I'm going to show you examples of companies using those systems. So we'll look, for example, at Drupal, and then I'll show you these companies are using Drupal. And there'll be some pretty big organizations in there. These companies are using Drupal. What these systems we're going to use do is they will basically manage HTML for you, and HTML is the code that's being used to create web pages. But in the end, obviously, because it is a web page, a website, it's still going to use HTML. So it's still important for us to have a rough understanding how HTML works. A, it helps to explain why the system behaves the way it behaves. And B, it helps you when you want to edit a page in such a way that is not open to you by default. Yeah? If you want to do something unusual, something specific, it helps you to understand how it works behind the scenes, and you can basically do some manual changes if needed. So yeah, we looked at a very basic HTML file. So we always start with an HTML tag. There's a header, here's the body, and all the content of the web page goes actually in this body. And last time we started looking at links, or how they used to be called hyperlinks. So the idea is you click there, it links you somewhere else. And there are different types of links, internal and external links. And have you all succeeded in doing internal and external links in the workshop before the reflection week? Yeah? Good. So external link links you to a different web page or different website. Yeah? What's the difference between a website and a web page? I think we talked about it. One is bigger than the other. One includes the other. So a web page is a single page. A website, we usually use it to refer to the collection of pages that belongs together. Yeah. So, a company would have a website consisting of many different web pages. Okay, so we can have external links that could go to a different web page on our site, or they could lead to a completely different website. We have internal links. We basically stay in the same document. We basically just scroll down or we scroll up. I want to face it that way. We have relative and absolute links. I think we started talking about that. So the difference here is for absolute links, I basically spell out the web address completely. Yeah. HTTP or HTTPS : // www and blah 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 blah. Yeah. So absolute link, we spell out the complete path to the web page. Relative links, we basically say how you find the file based on your current position. So relative links only work if you link to other pages in your site, because presumably they will be in the same file structure on the server. So basically, if you just write down the file name, the system will assume it's in the same folder. Or you could say go upper folder, or you could tell the system go into the folder called XYZ, all those different things. The last thing that's quite important that we want to look at today is when you have a link, you can basically make it open in the same window, i.e., what you currently see will be overwritten with the new content, or it will open in a new window, or these days I should probably say in a new tab. And we're all browsing with more, or at least on a computer, I assume, we all browse with more than one tab open. Is there a correct assumption you browse with more than one tab open? You?
I can't actually remember.
Yeah. Or you browse more on the mobile phone, it's a bit different. More on the mobile, yeah. In mobile phone you can have different windows, but switching is not that easy, because the screen space is quite small. So usually, let's say for argument's sake, we are selling paint. Yeah, we have a company selling paint. Obviously, if you are on the red paint page, and you want to go to the blue paint page, you're probably not interested in the red paint page anymore. So when you click on blue paint, it will just basically replace the current page with a new page. But when you link to other websites very often, you actually think, oh yeah, the visitor, he wants to go to this other website, and I provide a link, I remind him clicking on that link, going somewhere else. But because I like my visitor to stay with me, I don't want to replace my page with the new page. I want a new tab to open. Let's have an example. Let's pick Wikipedia again. New window. Okay. So here's Wikipedia. So the article of the day is the Interstate 75 in Michigan. And so at the moment, so here are my tabs at the top. At the moment I only have one tab. So if I click on Michigan, the system thinks, I want to look at some other article here. So I still only have one tab, So basically my tab about, what was it? The Interstate 75 got replaced with the page about Michigan. But sometimes I might want to go to a completely different web page. Let's scroll to the bottom. Oh yeah, lots of links here. External links, okay. Let's click on Michigan official travel site. Well, looks like Wikipedia just doesn't mind you going away. Okay, but some websites, if you click on something, let's go somewhere else. Yeah, let's try this. So I click on a link. Yeah, and did you see here? It opened in a new tab. And the old tab is still there, and basically the system created a new tab. So if I follow this link, here's another link. Let's click on this link. A new tab would open because it's an external link. But if I click on an internal link, let's find an internal link. There should be one somewhere. Well, anyway, you've seen internal links on Wikipedia. so don't need to find one here. So we've got two types of mechanisms. Yeah, we've got the one like we got here. I click on Interstate 75. Look, I basically override my existing tab. I click on any link here. I basically override my existing tab. But as you've seen on the other website, we can also open a link in a new window or in a new tab. So usually organizations would do it like this. Internal link from your own website. You go to another web page on your own website. You basically just stay on that tab, on that window. If you link to another organization, you usually open a new window on your tab. So internal and external links, so we already did those last week. Yeah. So were you all okay setting the anchor? Basically the point where you want to jump to? Anybody here who had problems getting this to work? Okay. Now, very important point, please listen. You're not gonna get marked on the things we do in the workshop, but they're very important. Yeah. So they're very important because you need to be familiar with all the steps we do here. You need to be familiar with sending files to the web server. Yeah. And you can, there are many mistakes that can be done. For example, I noticed some students, the first time they used FileZilla, they clicked on don't remember the password. Now every time they have to enter the password again. If you're in that position, let me know in the workshop and we can go in the settings and we can change it so that FileZilla will remember your password. Okay, you need to log on. Yeah, you need the correct server, the correct username, the correct password. And most importantly, you need to know which folder to send the files to. Because if you send the files to the wrong folder, they will be on the web server, but you will not be able to see them on the web. So you're not gonna get graded on the things you do at the workshop at the moment, but it's your chance to try these things out in a relaxed environment. Yeah, and there's no pressure on you. You just experiment around with this and you get familiar with it. Because by the time we install the legal CMS, you're gonna have thousands of files you have to move to the server. And that will take an hour or whatever it will take. And if you move them to the wrong folder, then you wasted an hour of your work. So this is a chance for you to get familiar with things. And every time we do one of those workshops, you basically have to pick up again from the things you did the previous week. And if you do them wrong, you'll notice actually my files are not on the web server. So many little things to get familiar with. Yeah. How to send files to the server, which folder to send it to. And importantly, once they are on the server, where do you go to in your web browser to see the files that are on the server? So look at different steps to do and to familiarize yourself with. And the idea is, like I said, this is a relaxed environment. You're not going to get graded on it. So you can just try things out. If you make a mistake, no problem. Just try again. Okay. So, internal and external links, we covered that. Relative and absolute links. So absolute links, I mentioned that before, we basically spell out the whole address. Relative links, we basically say how to get there. Yeah. Let's do a little drawing. Okay, so let's say what are we selling? Give me an example. What are we selling?
Shoes.
Shoes. Yeah? Okay, shoes. So we've got a folder called products. Okay, what kind of shoes are there? So this is supposed to be a folder. Let's do it in this kind of icon that's supposed to be a folder. Tell me, so you got boots on?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's say boots. So let's say we sell boots. And you got, what are they called? Sports shoes? Sneakers? Trainers. Oh yeah, for sneakers is American, isn't it? Trainers. You got trainers? Trainers is a popular choice. Anybody who doesn't have trainers or boots? Any other type of shoe? Well, let's say sandals then. I make it up. Nobody here wears sandals, but yeah. This could be the structure of our folders, yeah? But then, this is just an example, yeah? If you've got a shop selling shoes online, or if you're a manufacturer of shoes, maybe you don't even want to sell, you just want to, because you make shoes, you just want to make people aware of what kind of things you have. You could have a category like that. So let's say in the boots folder, there'll be different files, yeah? Now, bonus question, I mean, there's no real bonus I can give you, but if you want to go into a folder, and if you want to see a specific page without specifying the name of the page, what do you need to call it? Anybody remember? Was on one of the slides. You want to go into a folder, and there's a specific name you can give the HTML file, and then it's gonna be
relative links.
Hmm?
The relative links.
No, I'm just after the name of the HTML file. It will be called .html, and then basically, when you don't specify the name of the file, that's the one you get. So it's indexed. You knew it? I should have said it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So index. Yeah. So usually, you see, let's say we are making shoes, and our company is called. I don't know. You know Hotter? Who's from? Is anybody here from the Northwest? You're from the Northwest? No. You're from the Northwest? What's it called? Between here and Liverpool. Skelmersdale. Is it? Yeah. So Hotter, they're a shoe manufacturer, and their factory is in Skelmersdale. Yeah. So you know, if you buy their shoes, they are made in Skelmersdale. So they might have a web page like that. Oh, let's have a look what web page they have. Good example with the shoes. It can, we can spin that off forever. So let's have a look how the Hotter web page looks like. Come on. Okay. Yeah, so we can see what do they do. The first thing is there's a folder, or it looks like there's a folder called GB. So probably based on my IP address, we had a quick look how communication travels over the internet. So I'll have an IP address. So based on my IP address, they figured out I'm probably in the UK. Anybody here playing lottery? National lottery? No? Okay, if you ever play on a mobile, it will say, it's good you don't play, because you're not gonna win anyway. So you saved a quid or 2 quid by not playing. If you're gonna play from a mobile, it will basically give you a warning. It will tell you, are you in the UK? If you're not in the UK, basically, and you win, we might not give you the money, because you have to be in the UK to play. And from the IP address, you can have a rough idea where somebody is. It might not be 100% correct, but usually it is. So they might know which country you are in, or whether you're on a mobile phone or not. So in this case, they obviously figured out I'm in the UK, and in the UK, we've got a few languages here. but they might not even have a Welsh web page, for example. They might only have an English web page. So they might just bring me to the English web page. And it might be different in other countries. You know, if you're in Switzerland, you know, they got 4 languages there, so that would be a different matter. Yeah, if they have a Swiss web page, it would probably be CH and then the code for whatever language you want to see within Switzerland. Okay, they did it different, so we thought of boots and sandals and stuff. But here, you know, they have women, and now there's some sort of folder, but that's Lilo Virtual is another matter called View All Women's. Yeah. So they do it by gender first, and then if I do boots, no. So then there's not really a folder for boots. Now this is just basically some query I hand over. I'm gonna show you how that is done in the future. But yeah, different companies do it in different ways. So they decided basically to have the folders by gender. Let's go back to my drawing. Yeah, but it could have been done in other ways. So let's stick with our original plan, boots. Any idea what your boots are called?
Mine?
Yeah, give them a name.
You can say it's Dr. Martin.
Okay. So let's say we sell, so let's say we are not making them, we are reselling. So let's say then we have a file called, is it with an S or without an S?
M-R-M-A-R-T-I-N.
I, okay.
Yeah. No.
E?
Yeah.
And then with an S or without an S?
Yeah.
S?
Yeah.
Okay, so, okay, or we could have another, anybody else who knows another maker of boots? Timberland, good idea. Timberland. Okay, and trainers? That's Nike. Nike, I should say. Oh yeah, there's Reebok. Reebok, 1 over. Yeah. Is there still British Knights? There used to be a brand called British Knights in the 80s. Anyway, okay, so let's say I'm at index, yeah, and I want to go to Doc Martens. Then I'm staying in the same folder. So if I want a link from index to Doc Martens or to Timberland, all I need to write is docmartens.html or timberland.html. I can save all the HTTP stuff. I'm staying in my folder. Yeah. But if for whatever reason, you know, here from index, let's say that there's another index file. Yeah. So from this index, I want to link to this index. I need to go from one folder to another folder.
But what's the index page? Is it both in this case?
It's just some sort of placeholder page. So in this specific example, let's say I'm selling boots, but people haven't picked the maker yet that they want. I would just have some page like, hello, we are selling boots and these are the following makes we have. So it would be some sort of welcome page to the area of boots. But a very good question, yeah? What's the point of this page? So this is, index pages are usually landing pages. It's what we want people to see that go to this area. Okay. So I'm in this index page, I want to go to this index page. How do I get there? I want to navigate in my file structure. I'm in the folder called boots. And what's the folder called I want to go into? So I'm on this page, index here, and I want to go, this is hello, we sell boots, but we also sell trainers and sandals. Yeah? And now the visitor read this and thought, yeah, trainers, I like trainers. Who doesn't like trainers? And our visitor who was on index clicked on trainers. So now we basically need to tell the system how do we find trainers index. So I'm in the folder called boots. What's the folder called I want to go into?
Trainers.
Trainers. Okay. How do I get there? I'm in the folder called boots. Describe to me how I get into the folder called trainers. Anybody here used MS-DOS in the past? No. Okay. So, how do I get from boots to trainers?
Use the link.
Yeah. But in the file structure, yeah, I'm in this folder, so I need to get out of this folder. So I basically need to say go to the I need to say go to the higher folder. Yeah. Look, I see a few Apple MacBooks here. Now, what do you do if you're on an Apple? If you're in a folder and you want to go to the next higher folder, what do? You press Option up. Yeah. So Option up. Actually, I only see MacBooks here. So yeah, so you're probably all familiar with it. Yeah, you press Option, a little key with that funny icon, which is basically based on a Swedish castle. And you press that one. Sorry, not Option, Command. Command. I keep using them, mixing them up. So you press Command up. Yeah, will get you one folder up if you're in Finder. So that's basically what we're doing. We want to go up one folder, but instead of pressing Command up, what we need to do is to get up one folder, we basically need // Yeah, that's basically the equivalent of yeah. // is the equivalent of Command up in Finder. Yeah. Let's say if I was in boots and there were different subfolders, let's say leather, canvas, or what else is there? No? Let's say leather and canvas is good enough. No? If I'm in boots and I want to go into the folder called leather, I can just type leather // and I'll go into the leather folder. So I can navigate up, // I can navigate down, typing the name of the folder, and it will be all pretty straightforward. Any questions? Okay. Ah, come on. Here we are. Yeah. So in this case, for example, I say go up one folder and find the file called index. Here I say go into the folder called test, go to the file to.html. The advantage here is, let's say, if we have different domain names, the visitor will stick to the existing domain name. Yeah? So let's say if we've got different trademarks registered, we can have a domain for each of those trademarks, and wherever the visitor went to, they can stick to that domain. Yeah? So, I mean, the example, I haven't checked whether it works like that, but let's say Coca-Cola also owns Fanta or Sprite. Yeah? So they could, they could do it like this, that Coca-Cola .co.uk, Fanta.co.uk, Sprite.co.uk, they all point to the same server. And they could basically serve you the same files. But the moment we use absolute links, basically we would have to force the user to go to a different domain. But by using relative links, we could, for example, keep the user on the domain that they entered with their web browser. Last thing, same window, different window. By default, if you click on a link, it will open in the same window. If you want to force it to open in a new window, you can write target is, in quotes, and then you can give it a name. So let's say in our website we could have shoe details. So we could have a separate window for shoe details. And if we stick to a name, yeah, then every time we want to open something in shoe windows or shoe details or whatever I want to call it, then it would reopen in the same window. If we just want to open a new window anyway, we just write _blank. That's usually how we do it. And again, you can copy and paste from the PDF, but when I put it in PowerPoint, Microsoft changed the quotes to those curly quotes. So you might have problems if you copy and paste. So it's, yeah, if you want to try this out in the workshop, it's easier if you just type it in. Not only do the quotes look different and you have to retype them all, sometimes even the space looks like a space, but it's not a normal space. Also, if you're using a Chinese system, switch to an English keyboard, because Chinese characters, even though they might look the same, they would be different. I mean, think of a Chinese full stop. Looks a bit like a little circle more than like a dot. So let's say a Chinese full stop. You can't use a Chinese full stop here. So switch to an English keyboard. Okay, we can put comments in an HTML document, which is basically something for the person who wrote the code to see later. If you've ever done any other programming language, there's one thing to point out here. In HTML, the HTML code gets sent to the visitor of your web page. So don't put any passwords or any things in there that are supposed to be private, because the comments will also be accessible to the visitors of your web page. They will not see them as part of the web page, but they can click on view source code in their browser, and they would see the comments. So yeah, don't put anything there like, oh, the server password is XYZ, whatever. Yeah, don't put that there, because the visitor, even though they don't see it by default, they can make the comments visible if they want to. A few other things. We could have a horizontal line in the code, which is HR. We could have a line break, BR. So HR, you can remember horizontal rule, BR, line break, BR like in break. Or you can have a paragraph. Paragraphs have the advantage. You could use some other methods to redesign the look of the paragraph. But that's more complicated, so I won't talk more about it. Now, when HTML came out, we had all those ideas of having those tags. So originally, HTML was formatted with HTML text. But then, was late 90s, people thought actually we should keep the content and the formatting a bit more separate. And a lot of formatting has been moved out into a separate file called CSS. But the original text formatting tags are still working. So even though normally people would do stuff with CSS or are supposed to do stuff with CSS, this will still work. So if you want a quick look at all those things, you can use B, will make text bold, big, will make text big, EM will emphasize text, I will make text italic, and if you look here, look, somehow they end up being exactly the same thing, EM and italic. Yeah. Italics looks like this, emphasized, and because we want to emphasize the text and we don't know how, we make it italics anyway. But in a CSS file, or in using some other means, we could basically redefine what we want to do. We could basically say emphasize text should be blue. We could set up a rule like that. Also, there would be a different, let's say somebody who's visually impaired might have their computer leave out the web page to us. Sorry, to them. Yeah? So, if somebody is disabled and has some supportive technology running on their laptop to support them, that kind of technology might also handle different tags in different ways. Small, strong, yeah. Who can figure out what strong is the same as by default? Bold, yeah. Subscripted, superscripted, inserted, yeah, underlined, not a good choice. Why? Because when people see something underlined on a web page, they will assume it's a link. Then they move their mouse over, and only when they realize the mouse doesn't change from a pointer to a hand will they realize this is not a link. Or they don't even realize and they still try to click on it. So don't underline anything in a web page. In a Word document, we're used to writing Word documents, perfectly fine to underline things. But not in a web page. People will think it's a link. Okay. So far I only talked about how to get information from the server to the visitor. Yeah. But we can also get information from the visitor to the server. Let's say, we are selling those shoes and somebody wants to buy those shoes. We need to know where they live, because we need to send the shoes out. We need to know what is their credit card number. How do we get information from the visitor to our server? We need to use something called a form. So the start tag looks like this form, the end tag looks like that form. Then we can have different types. Yeah, in this case we can have a text. So that will just basically create a line where our visitor can enter text. For example, another postcode. Yeah. We can say whatever the user enters is a password. What's the difference when you type in a password in a web form? What will happen? If you type your postcode in, PR1 to HE, you will see the postcode. If you type a password in, what happens?
It hides it.
It hides it, yeah. And again, we're just saying this is a password. It's up to the web browser to decide what to do. So if I do it on my computer would hide it straight away. What would your mobile phone usually do? Your mobile phone usually doesn't hide it straight away. What does your mobile phone do?
It shows it.
It shows
it and then hides it.
Yeah, it shows it first and it hides it. So let's say if my password is password, I type P, I see P. I type A, I can see A, but the P became a dot. Yeah. So on my mobile phone, it always shows me the last character I entered, but all the previous ones are hidden. Why? Because the keyboard is so small. I might have tapped the wrong button on the tiny keyboard, so it shows me the last character. And this just shows you that all we have here is a mechanism that describes the page, but it's up to the user's web browser to decide what to do with it. Yeah. And a computer would handle it differently than a mobile phone. And different browsers might handle it differently. And again, my example, if somebody has a disability and has some supportive software installed, it might be handled differently. Area, yeah, I can have basically a big box where lots of text can be entered. So example, you allow, let's say we sell those shoes, and now we ask the people, you bought this pair of boots, what did you think? And you can write a little review. So we want to give them a big box that they know they can type on it, not just one line of text. So this is the code. I've taken this code and I put it on this link. So when I click here, basically this web page will open and it has exactly this code in it. Let's have a look. And come on. Sorry, it wants to update my browser first. Here we are. Okay. Let's zoom in. Yeah. Oh, okay, I can't make it any bigger. Yeah, but this is what we get. Yeah, we tell the whole system this is a form. City input is text. Yeah. Next is password, and we told the system the type is password. You see, I get dots. Yeah. So city, is just the text here I have before the input tag. Password is what I have before the input tag. The input tag creates this box. This input tag creates this box. This text area will end up here. And if we look again, I define the text area, then I say this text will appear in the text area. Yeah, here it is. It just looks a bit odd now, probably because I zoomed in my browser so much. So this is the code. This is how my web browser will render this HTML code. Any questions so far? Okay. What other things have you seen in forms? What other elements? Yeah. Text area, yeah. And there's some other elements we can use in forms. For example, I want your address. Okay. So if I want to ask about the address, what kind of things would I ask? What's the first thing I would normally ask? Let's not call it address. I want to send you the shoes. What's the first thing I'm going to ask for?
School.
Okay, yeah, could be.
House number.
Yeah. But what else do I need to know? I need to know something else about the customer. Telephone number, yeah.
Maybe the name.
The name, yeah, that was what I was after. I need to know the name, and then usually I also ask for the gender. So I want to ask, is it Mr. or Mrs. or Miss? How is that often done in web forms?
Drop down.
Drop down? Who said drop down? Yeah, drop down, yeah. I would do it with a drop down list, because there are probably 4 or 5 options, yeah. So drop down list, what else could we do? So there are input areas where we can type text in, and there are drop down areas. We don't need a keyboard for that at all. Can you think of other input methods that don't need a keyboard in a form?
Tick boxes.
Tick boxes, yeah? Okay, and there are 2 different types. One is called the radio button, one is called checkbox. So bonus question, what's the difference between a radio button and a checkbox? Yeah, radio buttons, very good. You can only choose one. It's like an old-fashioned radio. Those, you press one button down and all the other buttons pop up. Have you seen those? Yeah. So you press FM and the medium wave button will pop up. Yeah? You can only press one button at a time. For example, if you ask for somebody's gender, that might make sense. You don't want them to click male and female at the same time. It's either or. But checkbox, we can tick as many as we want. So example, can you think of an example? For a checkbox? So, radio button would be gender, male or female. Checkbox?
Could you say, like, some of them do it where they want to send you emails or letters and stuff?
Yeah, very good example. So I'm happy to be contacted by email. I'm happy to be contacted by SMS. I'm happy to be contacted by
Post.
Yeah, post, yeah. So you can tick all three of them if you want. Yeah, very good example for a checkbox. Yeah. So how does it look like? So this is a select. Is what we call a drop-down list. So basically, you say select, and then we have different options. Obviously, like I said, you're not gonna get tested on this, but this is something you need to understand down the line. So the point here is you don't have to remember how the code works. Yeah, nobody's ever gonna ask you what's the HTML tag for a drop-down list look like. But if you try it out yourself, and if you made it happen yourself, it's easier for you to remember the concept as well. Yeah, and the more you try these things out, the more you remember, oh yeah, there's a drop-down list, there's a radio button, there's a checkbox. But it doesn't matter if you don't remember what the type is called. In this case, we've got a tag called select, we've got a radio button, we've got a checkbox. So, again, I programmed this here. Let's have a look. I put the code on this page. Here we are. So here's my drop-down list. Here's my radio button. Yeah, I can only click one or the other. And here is my checkbox. I can have both. Okay. So I'll open the previous PDF again. Oh, come on. Yeah. So, for the practical workshops, you apply internal, external links, absolute, relative links, links that open in the same window, in a different window, comments, horizontal rules. But if you try it out, whatever content you want to put in is basically up to you. And then if you've done that, and if you want to work ahead, come on. It doesn't like me having two PowerPoints open at the same time. I'll just close the other one. Okay. Here we are. Okay, and if you want to work ahead, you can also try out an HTML form. But like I said, you're not being tested on this, but you need to get familiar with uploading files to the server, and they need to go to the right folder and so on. I also got those. We want to do those mid-module feedbacks this year in the different modules. So if you might have seen them on other modules already, or you might see them in the future. Have a look. You don't need to fill it in, but this is just some internal feedback mechanism. Take it with you to the workshop. Now I'll just print them out now. You can give them back to me in the workshop if you want, but if you don't want to give them back to me, you don't have to give them back to me. But if there's anything you don't like, if there's anything you like, you can basically let me know about it, and I can then try to, if there's something you like, maybe I can try to get more of the stuff you like. If there's something you don't like, I can maybe try to get rid of the stuff you don't like. So this is an internal feedback mechanism. You can give it back to me in the workshop. Okay. So see you in house building.
know.